Real Talk with Jodi and Michal. Real friends, real situations, real life. Authentic chats from the heart to the gut. Two best friends keeping it raw, real, and relatable.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Jodi and Michal. I am one of your hosts, Michal Offer. I'm a functional nutrition consultant, and I am joined by a great friend, a peer, and somebody who I absolutely have adored since I was 3 years old. And I will let her introduce herself to you, Jodi Greenblatt.
Oh, thank you, Michal. I love your introductions always. I'm Jodi Greenblatt. Yes, we have been friends since we were 3 and 4 years old. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist turned relationship and empowerment coach for women. In particular, I love supporting women who have been in toxic relationships, with my goal being to help women on their healing journey, date confidently, and attract the right kind of man for them, so that people can have better relationships.
Love it. And today we were talking before we started, and I think we're going to talk about something a little bit different, but as always relevant, because everything is real. This is real talk. And we were talking about health and what is health and what is healthy. And both of us are not women in our 20s anymore. And I'm thinking that, sorry, it's true. And I'm thinking that
You admit it out loud, Michal.
well, I said 20s. 20s.
Oh, that's right. Okay, maybe I'm in my 30s. Okay.
No, I'm embracing exactly where I am in life. I love it. I wouldn't go backwards. But we wanted to, and we thought that many of you are probably in similar positions in at this stage of your life when you're not a kid anymore, right? When you're not a really young adult. What is health and what is healthy, and how do we define health, and how do we embrace health? And that's a lot of questions, but I think it's very timely right now. There's a lot of talk in the health space. Things have shifted over the last 5 years significantly, since the whole COVID episode. People are looking at things differently. They might be in totally different ways and totally different opinions. And this isn't about getting political in that way, but I think many of us are looking at health and wellness with a different lens. So
Yes.
I'm going to throw it out to you, Jodi, to start. What does health mean to you now?
Yeah. I first want to say, when you talk about how people are looking at health differently, I really think that the shift that happened in 2020 when COVID hit and the world shut down and everything became virtual, I think that had such a big impact, certainly for me in my profession. And because all of a sudden, overnight, doing therapy that was never considered acceptable, appropriate, the way to do it was always in person. If we look back to Freud original therapy was done on the couch in the therapy room. And all of a sudden, virtual therapy became the way to do it, became okay, became appropriate, became ethical to do. And it changed it completely. I think it destigmatized mental health. Anxiety went way up globally during COVID, and people became more comfortable admitting that they have anxiety, admitting that they have mental health, seeking mental health. The being able to get mental health treatment became so much more accessible. And so it has exploded, as has coaching. So, I mean, that's how I speak it, how I see it from my perspective, because people were seeking therapy, people were seeking coaching because self-growth became a thing more so during COVID. Talk about boundaries, talk about healing just became so much more commonplace and, again, accessible. So yes, the destigmatization of mental health or mental illness, I think, has played a great role in coming to the forefront of health being placed in front of us, being openly talked about. So what is health, you're saying? There's so many aspects to it, because there's physical health, which is your department. there's mental health, which is my department. There's spiritual health. And I think this is something I became so much more aware of as well during COVID, because existential questions started to come up. And I had been divorced for just a short time when COVID hit. So I was already in this space of, what do I want in life? And I turned 50 when COVID hit. So it's, I wasn't anticipating turning 50 was going to be this great existential or life-seeking, life-searching, whatever you want to call it, moment. But it was, I call it the perfect storm happened with me. Turning 50, COVID, got divorced, just came out of a toxic relationship, just everything all at once. And so obviously I started thinking about life. I started like asking myself those questions and like giving some serious thought to simple but very powerful questions. Like, what is life? What do I want out of life? How do I want to live my life? I've just been living my life without really giving it much, maybe the word is intentional thought. And living healthily is so freaking important. Those basics, eating healthily, exercising, meditating, stress relief, having downtime. I used to work and work and work and work throughout my day and not take a lunch or eat while I was working because there was so much work to do. And at the time, I'm talking years back, and at the time, I literally could not imagine not doing that because there was so much work to do. And reprioritizing what's important is also part of what health is. I look back and I think how I could have reprioritized. Yeah, I could have done less in my day. Life would have still gone on. I don't think I could see that. I wanted to do everything. I didn't like the idea of my to-do list having to have a carryover, something from today onto tomorrow's to-do list. I literally never did. That is how I pushed myself in days gone by. There was no such thing as anything from today's to-do list going on to tomorrow's list. But now priorities are definitely health. I will make sure I go to the gym when I want to go to the gym. I will make sure that I go salsa dancing because it brings me such joy. I just today, I've been under the weather this week, all week. And I've been sleeping more than usual. I've been feeling crappy. So Monday through today's Friday, Monday through Thursday, for those who are watching this and they don't know what day of the week it is. So Monday through Thursday, I've been oversleeping. I've not been going to the gym because I've just been so lethargic. And today I decided, you know what? I'm feeling crappy. I might as well still go to the gym. And lo and behold, I felt better. So just health is mental health, it's physical health, it's being grounded, and spiritual health. I don't know, I'd like to hear from you too, because what is spiritual health? Like to me, I might start to define it as it can be religion for people for whom that's important, but it doesn't have to be. It can just mean, what do you believe about life? What do you believe is important in life? What do you believe is the universe something that is bigger and bigger than you? Just knowing that there's more that we can give to community, giving to community, having your social circle. Tell me what your thoughts are on that, because this is something I still sometimes try to like think through.
It's tough, and I think what I've noticed in the practice where I work in, and you might have noticed this too, and I know there are some studies that show this, is when we talk about spiritual health, I think it has to do with two main things, which is connection and community.
Oh, excellent.
Right?
Yeah.
Connection meaning we need to have a tribe. Humans of course, there's outliers. Everything's on a bell curve. There's outliers. There's people who really just are absolute loners. They're few and far between, like true loners. And then there's people who are so super needy of other people around them, and I don't say that in a bad way, that they really, really struggle to be alone. Most of us sit in between. We're comfortable being alone as long as we know we have a sense of connection and a sense of community. And in the centuries that of past, that connection and community has come with religion, because the connection and community allow us to focus on something bigger than ourselves. And community or your tribe does that, because when you are truly connected to somebody and you are truly in community with people, the self matters, as the health of the self as well as the health of the tribe. And I think one of the things that has happened in the last couple of decades, but it specifically happened when COVID hit and the isolation happened, because religion has been, and I'm not saying religion is good or bad, but because religion has been so downplayed in our lives, right? And we often, not everybody, but there's a lot of judgment about religion now, in good ways and in bad ways, and some of it's justified. This is not that conversation. But from a community and a connection perspective, there hasn't been a lot of that. And although we all kind of hang out with each other and we do things together, sort of, there's no real connection. We haven't had the skills to truly connect with people on another level, or to find something else that's important that we can connect around or about. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden, not only do we not have connection, but we don't have community. We were isolated. And that brought out a lot of problems in people, and a lot of awareness that we don't have the skills to deal with this, which is why it was such a big deal for your industry, because all of a sudden I can't pretend anymore, right? I'm not going to work and hiding behind busy, 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 busy. A lot of people were not at work, or a lot of people were on Zoom, and they were, had their makeup face on and their pajama bottoms on, right? A lot of people not having the skills to cope with this sense of isolation and the sense of lack of community and lack of connection, turned to many, many things in order to self-soothe. I always struggle to say that. I don't know why.
Self-soothe. Say self-soothe 10 times.
Yeah, no, I cannot. But so they turned to food, right? They turned to drugs and alcohol. They turned to pornography. They turned to shopping. Some things turned really bad, and we got to turn into ourselves and explore or uncover some inner demons, which led to a lot of abuse and a lot of inability to deal with that. A lot of looking back at our past, and a lot of trauma coming up, because you're sitting there and there's all, you're
alone with your thoughts,
and your mind is going at a mile a minute, right? And then how do we deal with that? And some people really don't deal with that appropriately. And not because they're good or bad people, but because who teaches you to deal with that? Nobody's taught us to deal with isolation, right? We all know that in the prison system, going into solitary confinement is a huge punishment. It will drive you mad, right? It will drive you mad. And so I think that really highlighted for me this importance of this emotional, spiritual connection. When we say spiritual connection, the sense of true community, not just people who dress like me, but true community and connection. And if you think about our childhood, and I think about that a lot, because I'm no longer, but I grew up in a relatively Orthodox religious Jewish family. The family have since become way more Orthodox than we were. And part of me always used to think that they were crazy, But one of the things that it has afforded some of my family members is a sense of grounding through very, very tumultuous times. And that's physically tumultuous times and emotionally tumultuous times. Why? Because we have something that we are connected to, and there is a community there to support us in some way.
Yeah,
So
religion does do that. Religion
yeah,
does
and
do
that's
that.
but we've and in our modern world, we've taken a lot of religion away, but we've replaced it with things that are not as fulfilling. We've replaced it with much more superficial things than true human connection, right? We've replaced it with our phones,
Mm.
Facebook community, woohoo,
Oh,
right?
that's a whole other conversation
Right.
in terms
We've
of
replaced
how
it.
we've lost social connection.
Yes. But look at what that's done. We've replaced it with shopping, or with, or with food, or with outside things that we do together that don't really allow us to connect. We're always doing something when we're connecting with people. How often do we simply sit and be? This is what I love honestly, what I love about being Jewish is the fostering of the sense of community and the sense of family.
Family.
And, it's like every Friday night, you have Friday night dinner, right? All of the Jewish holidays. And my husband always says, my goodness, he's not Jewish. He says, my goodness, there's so many. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, but they're great. It's an excuse and an opportunity to
To
get
connect.
together and connect. And when you're
Yeah.
doing it in an Orthodox way,
Yeah.
there's no phones. There's nothing.
Yeah.
All you can do is connect. And right now, where I'm living in Texas, I live in a very religious city. There are a lot of churches, and everybody goes to church. And literally the Bible Belt, this is where I'm living. Nothing is open on a Sunday until noon because everyone is at church.
Wow. I didn't know there were still places that do that.
Right. And the modern Michal brain, it's like, seriously? I mean, Walmart's open, but nothing
Yeah. Liquor
really.
stores probably certainly not.
I'm sorry?
Liquor stores probably certainly not.
No, the liquor store, there's drive-through liquor stores. I live in Texas. There's very weird liquor laws here. But like the restaurants aren't, everyone opens at noon for brunch, and families go after church for brunch. And I always thought, like, I rolled my eyes at a lot of that. And it's actually lovely.
Yes, it is.
Lovely.
It's just what you're saying. That's community, it's family.
Yes.
And
And
yeah,
yet, mhm.
no,
Sorry.
go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and no religion has its zealots and its extremists, and that's a whole other conversation. But at its core, right, these people are good people. All they're doing is stuff for each other and stuff for the community. The amount of volunteer stuff that there is to do and community-oriented activities in this city, it's insane. Right. And it's wonderful. And I've been included in a lot of it since
I
I've
was
moved.
going to ask if you have been, yeah.
And it's been with nobody trying. And that's why I said there's all things, but nobody's trying to convert me or anything like that. It's just come and
Including me,
be included. And it is so good and so nice and just so calm and so peaceful. And it's so different from anywhere where I have any community that I have been in for a very long time. And it's beautiful and refreshing. And it's that these people are spiritually healthy, not because they believe in God or however they choose to do that, but because they're there to believe in each other.
To connect, to have community, be there for each other, have a support system. Yeah, it's so important.
I remember I had a really big crisis last year. I had just gotten here. I was probably here 2 months, and my brother-in-law passed away very suddenly. Really a big shock. He was very young, and he passed away suddenly. And I was at my yoga studio when I got the news that he was probably going to die within the next 24 hours. Like it was that sudden. And I
Mhm.
was looking at my phone and I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm in Texas, he's in Canada, and three
Mhm.
totally different people at the yoga studio said to me, what do you need? How can we help?
Yeah.
You need us to look after your dogs so you can go to Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
2 months. So people you hardly knew. Yeah, that's amazing. It is
and
amazing.
that's the community here. And yes, there's a lot of good people. I'm sure there's bad people here too. I'm not saying that, but it's because everybody is grounded in this connection together. And is it weird when I go to dinner to somebody's house and everybody sits and holds hands and says grace? Yes, it's weird for me because that's not my
Not
tradition.
accustomed to it.
No, but is it a beautiful thing that people are actually showing gratitude and thankfulness
And it's
for
warm. It
food,
sounds so
and it's
warm to
not, and
experience that.
yeah, it's really neat. And I think if we're talking about health, right? There's many things here that are not healthy, right? We live in the USA. There's many things here, both of us will admit, are not healthy. But from that perspective, it is so calming and so grounding. And when you say spiritual health,
Yeah.
to me, that's what I think about.
Yeah. That's
That's what
beautiful. I love the
that's
way
what
you've
makes
described that. And
sense.
we've also emigrated, and you've also emigrated moved a couple times. And I think it really gave me, time to think about support system, which I took for granted growing up. It took me to leave South Africa and live in the US, came here with really not knowing anyone. And then realizing what we had in our support system, what we had in our family. It doesn't matter, dysfunctional family, nonetheless, it's still really my family. If I think back to South Africa, it is a supportive family and a supportive community. And I didn't realize that until I left and then came to the US. And then my friends became my support system, became my family. So it just shows how important support really is.
It is. And I think one of the things that hit me from support and connection, and was me, and I've spoken to some other people who've immigrated, and some feel the same way,
Mhm.
is that I've met some amazing people. And I always say I've immigrated a few times. I
Mhm.
immigrated to Calgary. We
Yeah.
moved from Calgary to Montreal, which is still
Yeah.
in Canada.
Yeah, but it's a
It is
movement.
a different country. It is an
Yeah.
absolutely different country. It is in every way possible different. I mean, it still got cold, but even the cold was different.
Mm.
Then I moved from Montreal here, which again,
Yeah.
different country. And I've made some really good friends along the way. Um, but the connections from when I was young, the people
Yeah.
that I connected with when I grew up,
Yeah.
those connections, there is something about those connections
Yeah.
that are different from all the others. And I'm not going to say better or worse, but I am going to say different. And
I'm
for
going to say
me,
deeper. Don't
I
you
was
think?
going to use that exact word. I was going to say, for me, deeper. Why? Because when I speak about my childhood to you,
Mhm.
we have that shared experience.
And we fully understand. Yeah,
Fully get
fully
it.
understand. Yeah, same because that growing up experience.
Yeah.
I may have mentioned on here how I reconnected with a couple people from high school just in the past few months.
Yes.
And one of them who who contacted me out of the blue, I don't know how long it's been, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, but we again, due to the amazing technology, we've been communicating phone, video. But when I was in California, I actually got to see him. So what was high school? 35 years ago, something like that? I
Long
don't know,
time.
30, 35 years, something like that. And to your point about early friendships, it was it was as if I'd just known him all the time. And we talked about people from way back when and experiences from way back when. And we had a conversation, and it didn't feel like somebody I didn't know. And I haven't seen him, spoken to him in all these years. So there is so something about, as
There.
you say, old friends, long ago friends, friends we've known for a long time from childhood. Look at
And
us. Look at us.
yeah,
We've talked about this before. You and I have been through phases where we haven't spoken in years, for years. For whatever life happens, we're in
yeah.
different countries. The friendship was still there. We keep coming back, and look what we're doing today.
It's amazing. And I think one of the, if we're talking about like mental and spiritual health, one of the things that we've lost in our modern world because everybody's moving,
Mm-hmm.
families are separated. We can fly everywhere and that's fine, but that sense of tribe, that sense of family, that sense of community, from
Mm-hmm.
that perspective, that core community is gone. And not to say there aren't some terrible family relationships, that's not what we're saying, but in, again, bell curve in general. And then along with that, you take away any of the crutches that were around that, a really solid tribe, something to focus on together, be that religion or some type of spirituality. It could be anything from Buddhism to, I don't know, worshiping nature or appreciation of nature in some way. But the humility or the gratitude or the awareness that we are but a tiny little speck in this big universe.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is gone, and I think it's left a lot of people questioning life. Like literally, I'm looking around because it's like you're looking around going, is this it? Or what is it?
So I want to ask you why you say it's gone, because and maybe we're not saying different things,
Mhm.
but I feel that with the changes that have taken place and this movement toward, and I don't know, for me, it happened more again with COVID and changes that were happening in the world. I think people have become more spiritual in some way. Doesn't have to be religious, but even this movement towards meditation and being present and being grounded and mindfulness and gratitude is a movement towards spirituality. So I was thinking that there's actually been a movement towards spirituality. It doesn't look like it used to look, perhaps. And there were probably many people that were embracing spirituality, gratitude, meditation before. It just has blown up and become more accessible. Again, I want to say because of the internet and because of COVID. So I think many people are becoming spiritual, but in that sense of being more grounded and mindful and more aware and more present
I agree with you,
and connected,
but
like you say, connected to
yeah,
nature.
but I think we lost it for a long time. I think
Yeah.
especially through the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. And
Mhm.
it's left,
And it's come
and then
back again in a different
well,
way.
because it's left a lot of us going, is this it? So we start
Yeah.
exploring and looking for things
Yeah.
now in good
Mm.
ways and in bad. So you'll notice
Mm.
on both ends of the spectrum, there's been an increase. There's been an increase in this strive for spirituality.
Mm.
And then there's been this other increase in this looking to fulfill something, right? Because we're all the spirituality is we're looking for some type of fulfillment
Yeah.
on a level that's deeper. That's what makes humans different from animals, is we
Mhm.
we have this ability to think and feel in this way that animals,
And
as far as
awareness.
we know, animals
And
don't.
it's awareness. It's that awareness that makes the
Yes,
difference.
and
Awareness.
awareness of self.
Yes.
But people are looking for that fulfillment in positive ways and also in less than positive ways. And we're seeing both of that. I
Mm.
think we're seeing a lot of both of that right now. You and I happen to be in a space where, in our personal space and in our professional, where we deal with our peers, where we're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of movement towards that. in the people, again, the people that we surround ourselves with, in our tribe, in the people we follow online, in all of this reach that we have all over the world now. It's not just the person in the next town, but on the same token, and I see it a lot in my work with my clients, or with clients that come to our clinic workshops more than come to our clinic, because by the time you come and see us in our clinic, you're looking to explore a little something a little bit deeper and a little bit more alternative. But I see it a lot. I speak with people a lot who are looking to fulfill needs, and sometimes with all the best intentions, right, in ways that are not supportive of their health. So we're trying to be healthy, yet we don't have all the information and all the skills. And there's many reasons for that, but there is this, I see this dichotomy, and it's both driven by, I think, the same root cause, which is we're looking for fulfillment. We all want to feel amazing, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to do whatever I can today to feel like garbage, right? Nobody does that. We all want to feel amazing. So why do we make choices that leave us feeling less than amazing? And there's many reasons for that, and we can maybe get into that in detail at a later point. But there's we're constantly looking for things, and there's some things that can make you feel amazing and connected and good and fulfilled and loved and all of the things in the moment. And there's other things that take a little bit more work and a little bit longer. And one of the issues of society right now is instant gratification. That's a focus. So there's all these balancing acts to do, right? Between trying to feel amazing, or wanting to feel amazing, and
Well,
actually.
what does feeling amazing mean to you? Like,
Well, I think feeling great and feeling amazing means something different to everybody, right? And we can all define it for ourselves. And if you're looking at it not from a superficial perspective, I would say to be able to move my body every single day in all the ways that I want to, right? To be able to use my brain every single day in all the ways that I want to know that my body is strong and resilient, so that not only am I going to be able to do it today, but I'm going to be able to do it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. To know that when I'm 95, I'm going to have all my mental faculties about me, and I'm not simply going to be alive, I'm going to be living my life. So it's about being able to do the things you want to do physically, mentally, emotionally. I want to be able to be present in my life for me, be present for my partner, be present for my friends, right? Be present for my clients. I want to be able to learn and grow. This is all about what feels what to me would feel amazing. And it doesn't happen every single minute of every single day. No, because we all go through things, right? Like you said, you've been feeling under the weather for the last few days. You haven't been feeling
Yep. And you
amazing.
go through phases in life where
We
you're
don't.
feeling better than other times, doing better.
But it's still in those moments, right? Still understanding that I have the choice, I have the power over my body and my decisions and my health. And yes, I understand that genetically things happen. Yes, I understand people have pre-existing conditions, but there is still a way to make make a bad situation the best of the bad situation, or even worse of a bad situation.
Still, when you say choice, still a person can still make choices to live the best way they can, whatever their circumstances.
I am not in jail. I am free. I can choose. That's part of feeling amazing to me.
Yeah. And
Right?
that there's gratitude in that too when you say it like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And part of being spiritually complete is being grateful, is understanding that you could be hit by a bus tomorrow.
Ooh,
right?
Yeah.
Literally,
Appreciate
right?
what you have for now because you
And
don't know
all
tomorrow.
everything that you have is, and this is where the whole presence and all of that. But
Mhm.
how many people have lost that? And you notice it in their emotional health. I'm not going to say spiritual because I think spiritual health is something very personal to everybody, but you'll notice it in emotional health. I notice it in physical health,
Mhm.
right? When you take your body for granted
Mhm.
and you treat your body like garbage, right?
Yeah. It affects you
It
physically, it
shows.
affects you emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally. Yes.
And I see it
Mhm.
every single day,
Yeah.
how treating your physical body well
Mhm.
helps, will support treating your brain well. Your brain is part of your physical body. Your brain can't make appropriate emotions, can't make appropriate thoughts, can't offer you appropriate support if your brain isn't being treated properly.
Yeah.
So, just as a very extreme example, if you're drinking excessive amounts of alcohol every single day, your brain cannot function properly, right? Alcohol is a toxin to the body, and when you're drinking excessive amounts, it becomes toxic to the brain. The brain cannot function.
Mhm.
How are you going to have appropriate feelings about yourself and appropriate feelings about others? How are you
Mhm.
going to be able to show up and be absolutely 100% present when your
Yeah.
mind isn't clear? Everybody knows, everybody's woken up with some brain fog or something at some point. You know, when your brain doesn't work, your emotions don't work.
Yeah, it all goes together. It
Right.
does. Thoughts, feelings, emotions. Yep.
All
Your
of it.
physical health, your mental health,
All of it.
emotional
And
health, it
there's,
all
yeah.
connects.
And there's so many studies right now. It's insanely interesting. And there's a lot of pushback and kickback, and don't at me, people. It's just studies, look them up. But there's so many studies right now about the links to diet and ADHD and the rise in ADHD. There's many reasons for the rise in ADHD, but there's
Mhm.
a lot of studies that have been done on the link to actually on the link to diet and many mental illnesses.
Uh-huh.
A huge a big field of study in psychiatry right now called nutritional psychiatry. And there's some amazing people in that space really doing some fabulous and fantastic research on it. Interestingly, some of the first research that was ever done was I think in the 50s and the 60s when they didn't have so many ethics laws around psychological studies, and it was on schizophrenic people
Uh-huh.
and the effects of gluten on schizophrenia. And what they found is that gluten has a direct impact on schizophrenic incidences and schizophrenic episodes. So schizophrenia, you can probably explain it a lot better than me, but it's a break from reality
It is psychosis.
in
Yeah.
your brain. It's not, a lot of people think that it's multiple personality disorder or
Mm.
things like that. That's incorrect. It's
Mhm.
it's a break from reality. And they found in the study where they studied people who were institutionalized and they played around with their diets in a randomized control study, and they found that gluten has a direct impact on folks with schizophrenia. Now you could not do that study now simply because there's many more laws around that, but it's incredibly interesting that that it's all that everything
What we take into our bodies affects our mind, affects
yeah,
our mental health and
and what
our
we
emotions.
take into our minds
Mhm.
affects our bodies. Right.
Yes.
There's some really, I mean, Louise Hay was one of the first people in that space who ever really
Yeah.
spoke about, or who ever became a little more mainstream speaking
Mhm.
about that. And that's where now, like in our clinic, and I'm sure you use it a lot, we do an ACE score, an adverse
Mhm.
childhood event score. And
Mhm.
it has a huge impact actually on your propensity for autoimmunity, amongst
Yes.
things.
Yes. That is how traumatic experiences early on in life
Mhm.
affect health. You said autoimmune, it affects longevity. It affects a lot of illnesses. It has
Heart disease risk, cancer
Mhm.
risk, but autoimmunity is a big one
Big one.
because it's not one that people often associate. But what we take into our minds, and trauma is something that's, I mean, sometimes it's physical, but it's taken
Yeah.
into our minds
Yeah.
and truly affect our bodies. So
Yeah.
when we say what is health,
Mhm.
it's not an easy answer.
It has so
Not a
many
simple
facets.
answer.
They're all interconnected, and this is a part of what we were talking about when we first started, you and I, with today,
Yeah.
is like, how do we, I was saying about how I give a lot of thought to how do I want to live my life, and how do I want to be in this world, and what's important to me. And this is how we got to talking about health is so important on all levels. To
Yeah.
have physical health, to have emotional health, to have mental health, to be able to be in touch with your feelings, in touch with what you want in life. All of that all contributes to health. And spiritual health that we talked about. Yeah.
Right. And it's really difficult to pinpoint one and say
Yeah.
that's it
They're
because
all interconnected.
it's and yes, it can happen, but I think it's really difficult to have one without the other.
Yeah.
To truly have health
Hmm.
without everything. You can be a
Hmm.
physically healthy person,
Hmm.
but if you're not connected and if you don't have a sense of community and you're feeling emotionally empty, how are you showing up for yourself and for other people in
Hmm.
this
Yeah,
world?
there's a good chance that's going to affect other things. It's like your sleep and how you're eating. Yes. So,
Everything, but
mhm,
even if you're, it just leaves it just it's not it doesn't all it needs to all work together synergistically. And I always tell people what you see
mhm,
isn't always what is. And I have that a lot, because it's not where my passion lies, but a lot of what I deal with is weight loss and fat loss.
mhm,
And I have so many women in particular get really emotional about the fact that certain people look a certain way and they don't. And like, why is that? And like, woe is me. And I say, you know what, you still don't know what's going on the inside,
mhm,
because you could look perfect, right? And you could still be riddled with disease, and
mhm,
and things could be happening on levels that you don't know. And sometimes seeing the disease on the outside is better for us because that motivates us to take action, right?
mhm,
You also don't know if somebody's healthy, or I mean, if somebody's happy, or if
mhm,
somebody's
mhm,
fulfilled, right? You could be the best physically looking person in the world and be absolutely miserable. And I will say, ask many women, specifically women who do bikini competitions, the bodybuilding, not the super big, but even simply the bikini competitions,
mhm.
because their diet is, they can look physically beautiful, um,
Uh-huh.
as opposed to the women who do the big bodybuilding competitions where they look huge.
Yeah.
The bikini competitors tend to look physically absolutely stunning, except for
Yeah.
the sun tanning. But anyway, they look absolutely stunning, but many of them are absolutely miserable. And because their diet, in order
Mhm.
to look that way, right, is affecting other organs in their body,
Oh,
specifically
wow.
their brains. And many of them also end up with a lot of endocrine, which is hormone, not
Mhm.
just your reproductive hormones, all your chemical messenger hormone disorders or hormone imbalances because of what they put their bodies through. So don't just look at somebody and say, and the other way around too. Simply because somebody doesn't look like they're in perfect health doesn't mean that they don't have a lot of their other ducks in a row, and
Yeah.
the last piece in the puzzle
Yeah.
they're working on.
Yeah. And that makes me, which I won't get into because that's a whole other story, is comparing ourselves to other people,
Oh my goodness.
because
Well,
we want to let that go as well, because what you just described there is comparing ourselves, looking at somebody else and comparing how they are to how we are. And that's just not helpful. It just doesn't serve a purpose.
it,
We want
it,
to just be looking at ourselves, being within ourselves, reflecting upon ourselves, making ourselves the best version we can of ourselves. comparing to someone else has never done any.
Yeah, but I would want to add something to that, because with all of this self-reflection and introspection, I think it needs to come with a big picture of within the context that we are part of a community, we are part of a world, right? Unfortunately, I know it's going to make everybody sad. The sun does not rise and set every time you stand up and sit down, right? And there is always a risk, right? When we focus on self, focus on self, focus on self. So I think focus on self in the context of how am I the best version of me, so that I can show up A, for myself, and B, for the people that matter to me.
The family and the community, just like you were saying. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's a great place for us for today, because what I want to know is what you guys think about what is health, or what we've spoken about, or the good, the bad, the ugly, because some of these topics can be controversial, and they can hit nerves, right? So I actually want to hear I would love to hear all of that, and maybe that can open up to even a bigger conversation, and besides just the comparison conversation. But
because it's such a simple question, what is health? But I think it's so actually more complex than it seems. And I would also love to hear what other people say about that. Your comments below will also help us know what you want us to talk about next related to health. So I would love to hear that.
Yes. So like, comment, share, do all the things. We don't, everybody knows what to do. So do the things, let us know. And until next time, that we chat, have a wonderful day. Stay healthy, or focus on what is healthy for you.
Love it. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.